Jonsbo is really trying to build a premium brand image with some of their recent cases. They improved the packaging, included more accessories, polished the manuals, and tightened up the manufacturing on cases like the Z20 and the D32. Unfortunately for Jonsbo, some terrible customer service and horrible quality on other cases prevent them, for now, from joining the ranks of more legendary quality case manufacturers. I'll explain why after I cover the case. The D32 Pro has been an excellent case to use. It looks classy on my desk, with the matching square ventilation patterns, clean lines, and thoughtfully useful design. The Pro version, in particular, comes with support for back connector motherboards and an extra front USB port. I reject moves away from standard components, but I bought the Pro version just for that extra port. Jonsbo built a few components into the case to help keep cable mess out of view, but if you use a configuration like I did, they won't be useful. The cable guide under the power supply has to be removed for my build because the PSU was too long and I used a high PCI Express slot. There are many micro ATX motherboards that have their top slot shifted down one level, but I avoid those because I want the bottom slot to be useful, even with a large GPU. With the GPU and secondary slots too close together and the top slot shifted down, some large GPUs will block the motherboard connectors, the bottom PCI Express slot, and even prevent installing fans in the bottom of your case. This may not be an issue for you. If it's not, ignore me. There are some things I can nitpick about this case though. For one, the side panels are held on with just 2 screws and they can easily just fall off the side. There's nothing really holding them in once the screws are out. It's not a long fall, but I can see that being a problem. The dust filters are very good at catching filth from the air, but they can also be restrictive for airflow. The P30 fans I used help push air through because they're good for high static pressure. Also, the front dust filter is very hard to get to. I think you'd have to remove the power supply to take that out and clean it, which is why I turned my power supply to pull air from the front, or from the inside of the case, and assist with exhaust instead. That way that front dust filter won't have to be cleaned as often. That being said, a microfiber cloth wiped from the outside of the case can actually collect most of the dust from these dust filters, so you may not have to take it out at all. My case arrived with a small chip of paint, which I can cover up with a marker or some model paint or something, but it is an issue. Still, none of my complaints are so big that it would stop me from buying this case if it fit my needs, and that's saying something. It's a solid case. I had several complaints about my fan configuration in the chill build video, so I'll address them here while showing you test results from 3 different configurations. First, I tested the chill build configuration, which used all exhaust except for the fan above and in front of the CPU heatsink. I tested a standard all exhaust configuration, and finally, I tested the comment recommended rear intake top exhaust configuration. For this last test, I also moved the CPU fan from the front of the heatsink to the back of the heatsink. Also, please note that there's no dust filter at the back of the case, which will be a downside for cleanliness. You'll be importing more dust into the computer. All of these tests were performed with the CPU locked at 4 GHz. The Fantex T30 fans were locked at 1200 RPM, and the CPU fan was locked at 2000 RPM. I ran the Furmark 2.0 GPU and CPU stress tests simultaneously, but the CPU could not drive the GPU at full speed under these settings. So, I set the CPU stress test to use 10 threads instead of 16. The GPU hovered at about 300 watts of power consumption during the test, which is still not its full load, but the important metric here is temperature. The comment recommended configuration did perform the best for CPU and GPU cooling. The configuration in the chill build video was behind a little bit, but only forced air into the case through filters. The all exhaust performed the worst. This isn't the most scientific test, and these results are really applicable for this hardware configuration as a whole. If you have a different case that's similar or different parts, then you may want to test different configurations like this and see which one does the best for you. Overall, I really liked the Jonsbo D32 Pro. It's a good case and I can highly recommend using it. What I can't recommend though is buying it directly from Jonsbo. I recently bought a Jonsbo C6 Max for a video from the Jonsbo official store on AliExpress. The case disappeared from tracking, and when it finally arrived, a month late, maybe more, it arrived damaged. At every stage, the Jonsbo customer service chat tried to gaslight me, send me on a wild goose chase, and acted completely disrespectfully. They gave me incorrect tracking information and told me to call customs myself, and regularly responded to serious questions with emojis. I was almost convinced Jonsbo could be a major player in computer cases, if there is such a thing anyway, but their official store's communication was so bad that I no longer think so. If you buy any Jonsbo products at all, buy them from a reputable seller in your own country and make sure they have a good return policy. Coming soon, I'll finally build that Powertrain P40 case and the Metalfish T60. I also have the first ever case supplied by a manufacturer for testing and 2 other cases that I want to build in. So I'm all stocked up on parts and I just need to get filming. Thanks for watching.